Why do 90% of hackers swear by CounterSurveil? Let's dive in and find out. In the labyrinthine world of cyberspace, every click leaves a trace. But with CounterSurveil, you become the unseen. Our podcast takes you deep into the heart of hacking, where firewalls crumble and secrets unravel. From white hat heroes to shadowy code warriors, we cover the spectrum. Join us on Iron Geek, your portal to mastering the art of stealth and strategy. Discover the tools, the tricks, and the tales that define the modern hacker. Tune in and transform from a curious novice into a digital legend. This is CounterSurveil. Unmask the unknown.
Tune into the sound waves, secrets of the dark maze, dark codes in the nighttime, information no lines. We're free in the spotlight, chatting through the late night. Smart contracts are lying, auditing, they're defying. CounterSurveil in my ear, security we engineer. Learn the truth, don't disappear. CounterSurveil, we're right here. Crypto dreams and data streams. Listen close, it's closer than it seems. Fix the flaws, see through the smog. CounterSurveil, join the blog.
What up, everybody? This is the CounterSurveil podcast. I am Sledge, and this week we are without Havok, the other co-host. He is out doing cool hacker things around the country, and I believe he's doing a talk rather soon. I can't remember the date. But with us, we have Delchai as usual, Altkey, the other co-host, Dataplex joining us again, and CrowdStrong. What's up, guys?
Howdy, howdy.
Hey. Havok's hurting other cats.
So today we're thinking of starting off a conversation by talking about Delchai's cool war-driving wheelchair thingy-majigger, and then maybe go on to showing a talk I gave at DragonCon a few years back about lock bypassing. So let's open it up. Delchai, tell us about your wheelchair thing.
Rolling?
Well, a couple of years, last year, I unveiled what I call Rolling Thunder. And as far as I know, and as far as I checked with the other people, it was the first wheelchair-based war driving platform.
That's so cool.
It doesn't look like it. It looks like somebody just nerded out all over a wheelchair. It's got WLED running, and it's got lights all over the side of it. It's got a monitor. It's got a stereo system. You drive around, you play music, you play videos and all that. But the heart of it is a Raspberry Pi that's running Kali Linux.
Okay.
And it's all controlled from a tablet that I wear around my neck. And you just hit the right button, and it spawns Kismet in the background. And you can switch back and forth between the VLC video and the output from Kismet. And you're just driving around and you're blasting techno, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's so cool." And it's like, thanks for your passwords. And I went to a bar the other night and I did a man in the middle attack and sent everyone straight to Goatsy.
Hell yeah.
Can you show us the wheelchair?
At first it was like shock. I just de-offed everyone in the bar, and they're all banging on their phones and thinking maybe I shouldn't have had that extra drink. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And, there you go.
In terms of man in the middle, I like to redirect everybody's Google searches through Bing.
So, speaking of, do you have the wheelchair ready to show off? I want to see this hardware.
Oh, actually, I have some photos.
Okay.
Because I recently redid the whole thing. I recently redid the whole. Put it into its own box. And hold on a second. I think I might maybe be able to Yeah. Yeah. One moment. So I did do a whole video at one point, but it didn't take very well. Yes, there we go. Bang. There it is.
Can you share screen? There we go. Oh,
Check it out.
yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet.
That's sick.
How many horsepower does it get?
It's still the stock system. It's a Jazzy 1450.
Speed of smell.
And I'll show you the innards of it. Oh yeah, here you go. There's the innards of it. So the board on the top is it's called a Bong 69. It's a custom built.
I love it.
It's a custom built board for LED light controllers. It runs on WLED, and it can run up to 8 strips. And
Cool.
then below that's the Raspberry Pi. Now the Pi is split in like 3 different ways. I use the internal Wi-Fi to make a small network for remote control. And then there's an alpha, which you see in the lid over here. The alpha over here is for doing all the evil deeds. And this is the GPS module. And
So you never get lost?
Well, also so you can record where you picked up things. Kismet will automatically mark, GPS coordinates for things that it picks up.
You need to add a mesh-tastic to that.
That's coming next. Funny you should say that because
Cat pics.
Cat pics.
Hey,
There you go.
He's rocking a mesh-tastic.
There is the Mesh-tastic, and the Mesh-tastic has a new 3D printed home.
Sweet.
Oh, stand by 1 minute. You're going to have to be without me for a second.
Uh-oh.
All right.
So, community comment from Bella. This is probably the raddest wheelchair ever. Hey, thank you. We'll make sure he hears that. And much love and respect, everyone. Glad to have you, Bella.
Word.
Oh, yeah, I can do this.
Uh-huh. Yes, you can.
You should be able to drop that on the screen.
There we go. Nope.
Sledge is still learning how
Wrong one.
platform works.
We've been left unsupervised, so
Yeah,
we don't have adult supervision right
He got
now.
that AOL CD in the mail, and he's just totally changed.
The cat herder extraordinaire supreme isn't here to herd the cats, so we revolted. It's just what happens.
Hey, we at least did a little pregame, and he showed me at least how to use this admin function of this site. So I kind of know my way around.
At
Takes
least,
a minute, though.
The means of broadcasting.
at least there's that.
So the stream is going to be a little more unhinged than usual. Funny how without Havok, it becomes total havoc.
Yeah.
Speaking of Havok, there's a lot of AI news, but I was sitting here thinking, what if you could randomly load like a personality AI onto a wheelchair, just like pub crawl me and YOLO it.
That'd be fun.
Depends on what the wheelchair can do, I guess.
I might pay for that. That could be an experience.
I mean, Delchai is running a Raspberry Pi. You wouldn't have to load it onto the wheelchair itself, as long as it's running on something to give you an attitude problem.
Like, if you could access the controller of the wheelchair itself and make it, like, drive around based on something, that'd be hilarious.
That sounds horrible. I'm so in.
I'm old, so I go to the Matrix and like I'd pop up and be like, I know riding bull.
Make it just every time it sees red, it just goes towards it.
Sorry about that. I got paged. So this
You got
is
paged?
the beginning of my Mesh-tastic world. I've got 4 Heltec V3s that are each one is a different user because I'm building. I also built up a A repeater, a Meshtastic repeater.
Cool.
Okay. Cats.
I may need to get a hold of you because at some point I plan to stick Meshtastic in a very
Here on the right, you can see my two portables.
yeah. There's I may
The
have
batteries in them, and that connects up to my phone, so I can have Meshtastic when I go on the road.
that's dope.
Nice.
That is dope.
Did you 3D print that yourself?
I 3D printed it. I did not design it.
Okay, cool.
I did design the smaller holders for the Heltec V3s, but that was just parametric.
Mhm.
That's where you don't have to actually do the 3D design. You have a base design, and you change some parameters, making it X width by Y height and all that happiness. Much easier than learning CAD.
Oh yeah.
What is
Okay,
the learning
here's your
curve
question
on
for the
that
day.
stuff?
Now, there are 3 tubes here. One of them is butt paste. One of
Great
them is
stuff.
toothpaste.
That's toothpaste.
And one of them is cat hairball remedy.
Love that.
Which one did I accidentally grab and brush my teeth with?
Butt paste, 1000%.
Hairball remedy. That's why you don't
Hairball.
have hairballs right now.
Yeah.
Yes, I accidentally grabbed the hairball remedy.
Damn.
Which, I don't care what they say, it is not tuna flavored.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, before we go any further, let's take a pause real quick to address. Somebody just said, "What is the learning curve to get into this stuff?" And I believe he was talking about CAD. And the learning curve is actually pretty difficult depending on how in depth you want to get.
No, I think he was saying that
you start building stuff for 3D printing, but Meshtastic isn't terrible.
Oh, I thought you was talking about CAD. Okay.
no, yeah, I know that's a miserable endeavor.
Yeah, CAD sucks. I've been
Meshtastic's pretty easy.
I've been teaching myself Lightburn the last 48 hours because I need to know how to engrave things now because I have a nice engraver. So that's hard.
Like Fusion 360 is the devil of trying to learn that.
I'm gonna engrave the squackers.
I've been building with a box of Legos that I took from an 18-year-old.
That's the way.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Did you print that, Sledge?
No, I don't know what he's looking at.
No choice.
Oh, okay, all right. So that's I was gonna say you don't have an X1 because like I see that it's there. Which
I printed a couple of these guys.
I've been all but told to fuck myself on my X1. So thanks, Bamboo.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we have
fantastic.
community comment. Symphony said, AutoCAD boo, free CAD for the win. Any
Hey,
comments?
free CAD.
Woo, free CAD. Okay. I see we are all on the same page here.
Mm-hmm. Those are zip ties.
Those are some nice looking zip ties.
I never thought about printing a zip tie. That's cool.
I'd save myself
Yeah.
so much trouble. Oh, I could make rainbow ones. I want
Save
rainbow
myself a whole freaking 25 cents. Maybe.
I mean, not calculating time it takes to actually print them and, fill them in.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, let me get rid of this background.
No, that was a perfect background. Bring the background back.
Yeah.
All right. Let me figure this out.
Yeah,
Nope, not
this
that
is
one.
not working. This is the Bastion thing I'm calling it's the RPi 5 with the
Nope.
Sony camera on it. Lego mounted edition because the case that they ship it in doesn't hold all the things. And my camera is doing a terrible job here.
There we go. I got you soloed.
Yeah, hold on. Let me turn off the blur there. Cool. So, simple, right? Definitely not as cool as 3D printed stuff. Yeah, but I had to hold the camera up because it comes with like a 200 millimeter cable that fits in the AI hat there that they put on top of it, which is an NVMe drive. Yeah, lots of hours sit here messing with the cable. So
That's super cool.
yeah.
That is pretty cool how you made that little arch at the side too. Like you tried to make it spiffy.
Yeah. So this one is the other one, right? So input there, and there's the battery up in the top. I've got basically the screen here. So yeah, that's what you get for stealing Legos from kids.
Right on.
Head with skill Legos from kids again.
Hey, connects are better.
Yeah. Listen, I took him out back and I was like,
Hey.
listen, we have to talk about being a nerd and having, nerdy toys left over from childhood. Where's your connects, man?
I've got like every set of connects, like all the big ones. So I had an entire amusement park in my bedroom as a kid. It's like, hey, $10 at an auction from a Kmart closure? Sure, I'll take all of them.
Like the Rube Goldberg machines?
Yeah, that too. I had like the Ferris wheel, the roller coaster, everything, big ball factory. But anyways, is there anything more to talk about regarding the wheelchair, Delche?
Delche.
He
Bueller.
has done the thing.
All right, so in the interim, if y'all been seeing all this news about DeepSeek and the stock market and all that?
Yeah, I'm still trying to research into that. What do you know?
Yeah. As I understand it, China dropped open source a model that basically beats the pants off of all the $10 bazillion stuff that's being produced here, and it sent the stocks for companies like Nvidia and the Nasdaq into quite a drop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I guess it's I don't know all the details yet. I haven't actually looked into the code, but it's supposed to run on like low power commodity hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, we'll see what happens with this one. A buddy was saying, hey, it looks like a good time to buy Nvidia stock.
Yep.
yeah. Yep.
It's on sale.
Fire sale.
Yeah. We are not financial advisors.
Nope.
Consult a professional.
Yeah, in fact, we're probably the opposite of financial advisors, especially seeing that I was like, ooh, eBay video cards, all the eBay video cards.
Yeah, are we
But,
all getting Windows 10 back? Is Microsoft like, rolling back the clock on this?
Yeah. Y'all can just use Linux. It's better that way.
So, CrowdStrong, how's
Yeah.
work going for you?
Busy as always.
Yep.
Never
Any cool stories you can share?
Never a dull moment in my world. And what can I tell you?
Bob and Alice mode. If
no,
not, that's fine.
I can't speak about third parties because I can't give away too much about what I'm working with or who I'm working with. I'm trying to think.
On this episode of CounterSurveil, CrowdStrong teaches us how to avoid an NDA.
Right off the top of my head, I don't really have anything that I can give you. I'm
Okay.
so please forgive me.
It's like some of the stories I have as well. It's like, yes, I could try to anonymize this without giving away client names,
Yeah,
but the specifics of what happened, somebody would know what I'm talking about.
The breaches are so big, and the people that I work with are so big, I can't give you any kind of data without somebody knowing and probably being able to figure out at least one of the organizations that works with these people. So maybe not that.
Exactly.
Poor decision.
Err on the side of caution there.
Yeah, always. So I will refer to Ducky Squackers, who says,
So,
he didn't squack.
Like what CrowdStrong always says, every day is shut the fuck up Friday.
Yep, every day is shut the fuck up Friday.
viewer
Shout out Bot
input
Brothers.
is, oh god, it's Fortinet again. Can you confirm or deny?
It's DNS.
4 score and Fortinet a go.
There you go.
I'm stealing that. That's going to get used later. That's fantastic. 4 score and Fortinet to go. That's good. Oh man, busy as always to answer your question. Never a dull moment in my world.
Cool. I'm still waiting on a start date for this other job, but we'll see what happens.
Still waiting on a job.
I was gonna talk about lock bypassing, but before I do that, I'll say like it was cool because when I was gooning at DEF CON this year, they had the lockpicking village with all the locks on that fence.
Crazy.
And I walked up there and just started popping them, and everybody's like, what?
Time. Gooning, for those of you who have not been to DEF CON.
Crazy.
Goons are the guys that volunteer to help run DEF CON. The dudes in red that are usually
everybody here knows who that is.
Send the wheelchair.
You don't
Okay, look, we have some new viewers.
That is a whole new colloquial term that somebody's going to be like, hey, you were fucking what?
Volunteering at DEF CON will probably get you laid if you're into that kind of gooning, but that's probably not the kind of gooning he is talking about in this context.
Just wanted to clarify this. This was important because without that context, it sounded a little weird.
Especially over locks. Like that was definitely a little hot for YouTube.
Yep.
The safe word is Legos.
The safe word is Legos. Jesus.
But yeah, it was cool.
TCP/IP model.
Popping locks.
You'll ever remember that?
Popping locks over at DEF CON.
Yeah, it was fun because I was just taking a break at the lockpick village, and I just bust out my Peterson kits. If you're into lockpicking, look at the Peterson brand. They are by far the best you can buy. They're expensive as hell, though, so I'll give you that warning. But I have a bypass kit, and I was like just sitting there on their fence, going to town, popping locks left and right, and all of a sudden I got a crowd around me, and I'm like, guys, I got to go back to work. Everyone's like, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? So I showed them some cool tools, how to do certain things. But I do have a video about a talk I gave at DragonCon, and I believe 2022 or something like that on the EFF track, where I actually broke into the room, rather, because I was showing off like all these tools, how to use them, yada yada. And the crowd started chanting, do it, do it. So I did it. And broke back in, and the crowd went wild. It's pretty hilarious. So let's play that real quick and then get back to story time.
Work the video button. Hey, look, there it is.
All right, it's about time to get started.
You may want to take us off the screen.
People are probably still going to be trickling in throughout this, but hi, everybody. This is the reincarnation of the Desert Rain Security Podcast. We haven't recorded an episode since, I think, 2014 or 13. I don't even remember, but I guess you could say we're back. So we're still trying to get the hang of this, so bear with us. But the idea of this series is going to be kind of like focused towards private individual level of like hacker communities. So the way we're handling it right now is we're keeping it, like I said, fairly small, private. We'll let it grow organically, but Desert Rain has always been passionate about tutoring people one-on-one and helping like college kids go from zero to heroes, or people that just have no idea how to get into the industry of security, and basically kind of bringing people up in the industry, if you will. So I figured we work with different Discord groups in different smaller communities, and we're going the podcast route because we frankly don't have time to do the one-on-one thing anymore, because the community is just growing so fast. We have to kind of put everything into a video to where you guys can learn from. Hopefully it's beneficial. But anyways, I wanted to kick this off with a demonstration and a presentation that I gave at DragonCon last year that actually did not get published. And they turned the camera off halfway through. It was actually kind of funny. But anyways, Oh, co-host isn't even on. Oh, well. Oh, there he is, Harpy Eagle. Hey, Harpy Eagle, introduce yourself. We'll actually talk about that at the end. I'll have a little Q&A session with you about your entire process with that. But about me, I've been in the industry since 2009, professionally since 2013, pen tester since 2017, and started my own over the holidays. So yeah, just a little bit busy, to say the least. But anyways, I'll how about we pick some locks for a little bit, and then I'll get into a demo about how to use some tools, kind of go over some Linux stuff, just kind of the basics that you need to kind of understand or be aware of when starting out. So without further ado, I shall switch my camera over. So lock picking is fairly straightforward, but that's not something we're going to focus on today. I kind of want to show you guys something really interesting that not a lot of people know about. But we all know the basics of how a lock works, right? You've got the pins, the key goes in there, levels out the pins to the shear line there, and it turns. So there's also ways to bypass locks. For instance, I'll be showing some off to where you can, the keys are over, or the springs are too short and you can overset the pins and it'll turn. And another one is sometimes you can actually reach up into the locking mechanism and cause the lock to open without even interacting with the pins. So an example of that, we could start off with a lock that Joe actually got to use in the field. We won't say the company name, but let's just say it's an orange labeled home improvement store. But one day, his manager forgot the pin to this specific lock, and apparently they use it all over the place. And he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, is there a bypass to this lock?" And I said, "Yeah, there is actually. You just got to take a piece of metal and stick it to the left of one of the wheels, and it just opens." So he found a piece of metal from a splint out of a first aid kit and opened it up in front of everybody at work. And he was about the hero for the day and did a little lock picking village for everybody. It was a pretty cool story. And then there's another bypass vulnerability. So like this lock specifically, it has bars going on one side and the other side that the gates interact with. One of the vulnerabilities I discovered at the airport that I've actually never seen done before. I was sitting there, I didn't have my picks, but I had a lock in my bag. And I didn't have my picks because every time I put picks in my carry-on, I get stopped and they just go through all of them. They even broke apart some of my business card locks and everything. But I had a pair of tweezers in my bag just screwing around at the airport bar. And I broke an arm off of the tweezers and just started screwing around with this and realized that if I can do it on the fly. Yeah, boom. So in this side, you push the bar down and it unlocks. This other side, you pull the bar up and it will disengage the locking mechanism. And to do that, we need a special tool. So just a simple diamond hook, nothing crazy. You could even make one of these yourself out of anything. And it's just that simple. Oh, now I have to pick it back to close it. Yeah, there we go. Now, this one is also pretty interesting. I have no idea what the combination is, but it's a pretty beefy lock. And I bet you can't guess how you open this one. One could say it's magnetic. So the magnet interacts with the actual locking mechanism on the inside, which is a huge no-no for lock makers. But open. Ooh, strong-ass magnets. And then this one here is an example of where we're going all the way up into the locking mechanism right up here, and we're going to be interacting with the spring. And you tighten the tool up in that spring, and you just kind of tickle it, and it pops the lug out from the hasp, and it opens up. Just a quick demonstration for this one. And what's insane is this is one of the highest rated, high security locks at Home Depot and Amazon. Crazy. One more time. I like this one a lot. And then there's another bypass method. I mentioned before that sometimes you can lift all the pins up to the shear line at the same time, and there's nothing preventing them all from hitting at the right spot, causing, I forget what it's called, but you basically get them all to the shear line and turn, and that's what this tool specifically does. So an example would be that easy. And these are the locks you see on everything from box trucks to storage units. And then some of the other things I talked about at Dragon Con was, for instance, I don't know if anybody's seen this before, but you can assume what it does. But in case you can't tell, this is called a thumb turn bypass, or like a thumb turn bypass flipper. There's lots of names for it, but you all know those electronic doors at stores that have the deadbolt on the inside that they lock at night before they leave for the day. This, you basically reach through the door, lean it over a little bit, grab the deadbolt, and just unlock it, and then the door you can just push open. We use this on the field every now and then, and we'll probably get into some more stories as well. And then there's this other cool tool that I actually demonstrated live at Dragon Con. I was showing tools off like this, and the crowd started chanting, "Do it, do it." So I looked over at the organizer, and I was like, "Can I?" And she just kind of shrugged her shoulders. And I was like, "Okay, fuck it, going for it." So I locked myself out of the room and broke back in. And how I did that is, this is another one of those tools that takes advantage of an uninstalled, or a door that's not installed properly, where you can snake it through the crack in the side, pull it over, and activate the crash bar to pull it open, because that crash bar can't be locked from the inside because of fire hazards. You have to be able to escape the building easily. So reach in, pull the crash bar, doors open, Bob's your uncle. But it was, needless to say, it was hilarious. The crowd went wild. And then I got one other here. That, again, we use in the field all the time for like physical pin testing and stuff, which we'll probably talk about that a little bit more maybe later tonight or a different episode. But if you can see this, this is an under the door tool. So how it works is you slide this under a door, and you hit this part on the door handle while you're holding onto this piece of wire at the bottom of the door, and you slant it over sideways, yank on it, and it's going to grab hold of that horizontal type lever door handle, and you're in, basically. And then there's some other methods of entry too, like this guy here. This is a good way to get into hotel rooms to unlatch that chain that goes from the door to the wall. I think I misspoke on this in there just right and pop it out. And there's a lot of other videos on YouTube on how to prevent these attacks. I defer you to like Deviant Olem is really good about security measures and preventative measures for attacks like this. So is I Am Redshift with Red Mesa and Red Team Alliance. Those guys are really good at all of that. And then you've got this dealio. And I've actually used this more with random day-to-day home repairs than I have in the field. But what this is a pin popper for door hinges. You slide it, if a door is installed backwards, for instance, would be the use case in the field, but the door is locked and for whatever reason you can't get through the lock. You could put this on the pins, hit it with a hammer, knock the pins out of the hinges, and just pull the door out of the wall. And you don't even have to mess with the lock at all. But yeah, we'll be getting it more into lock picking and bypassing throughout this series and get into more detail. But for now, that's what I have in terms of the physical pin testing. I'm actually going to do another video on all right, that's what I have for that segment.
We have a lot of viewers.
I know. I want to address some of Bella's comments.
Please do.
Peterson's poor quality steel, that's blasphemy. Actually, I have picks from all of those brands. The Peterson knives are by far superior. So unless you get some really fancy handmade ones.
I see we are dealing with some hot takes here from the cast.
So I like my hammerless hinge pin thing.
Yeah, those are cool.
I've got them.
Those are actually fairly new.
Yep. I believe it was who put this out. Covert Instruments, I think, is the ones I've got. They work really well. Have used those a number of times. I have the Rex tool, the Rex sensor tool. I don't know where it's at this moment, but I do own it here somewhere. I was actually
I've got a big box somewhere.
I just ordered Duster to refill mine because I use them. Yeah, great stuff. Let's see. Rex tool under the door. I don't have an under the door tool. That's on my list of things to get.
The Rex one is the one that uses that NT11 whatever chemical that squirt through the door.
Yep. Or
I almost bought one at DEF CON, but I was worried about taking it on the plane.
I mean, it's just CO2 cartridges at first. and then you can take and refill it with the stuff you use for dusting.
Yeah.
You could also use, if you're DV Nullif, a mouthful of whiskey, which is
Yeah, that was cool too.
and pretty basic. Let's see. Picks. Yep, I've got covered instruments and sparrows stuff as most of my layout. Under the door, crash bars, coding egress rules. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, that's working on Medico M3 locks and a knockbox. Hey, that sounds like fun. Yeah, that's all I've got for responses from Bella.
And at Caesars, I did not see any countermeasures to the under the door tool, but I am aware of them.
The easiest way around that is just use a roll of film, the 35 millimeter film. Just
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's what I'm doing.
So, dumb question from me, but Sledge, you were missing your P key that entire video.
Yeah, my keyboard had to take a pee, and it's still peeless.
Yeah, of course I was making a few cracks about that, as well as the bottle in your crotch. Or are you really just happy to see us?
I was thirsty.
Well, explains why you were missing your pee.
Yeah.
This is where Havok would come in and tell me to shut up. But putting it quite frankly,
shut up.
Havok free this episode. So, ironic that the one episode we don't have him becomes the most Havok episode.
No idea what you're talking about.
It's better that way. Don't tell the blue teamer.
Freaking A.
See the anger. I love you too, Grudge Drunk. Okay. Any comments from the crowd?
Do it again.
Anyway.
Not that kind of cat.
All right.
That's on our only pones, man.
So, what do you...
Something gooning.
Something. I charge extra for that.
Yep. something gooning at DEF CON.
So did you guys see about that API exploit in McDonald's website? I think it was in India.
In India. It's similar to the one that they had here in the U.S. for a while, but that was more of like a kiosk hack than an API hack.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm unaware of both of these things.
The kiosk hack was the fact that you can really get stupid granular with the with your orders.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can say, I want a Big Mac with no lettuce, and you add 3 patties, and then you take away 1 patty, and then you add something else to it, and you end up getting like a triple Big Mac for the price of a meal deal, like a single cheeseburger deal.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they were saying you could change it to like a penny.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I've also had a few of my students use BlueStacks and do the McDonald's app emulations across the board, and then use those to put to-go orders in, and then just say they left their phone in the car to pick up the orders and get basically unlimited free McDonald's.
Is that what that song was about? Hot to go, but it was McDonald's orders?
That's a hot and spicy take right there.
Back in my day, we did things that were just slightly less. Well, you didn't get free food, but you had to get some real evil fun. Back in the golden era of the Yaesu FT50, you could cross channels. So you could take input from one channel, it functioned like a small repeater. So what you would do is you'd have a McDonald's and a Burger King right next to each other, and you take the input from the Burger King drive-through order machine, and you would send it to the output of McDonald's and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So you would roll up to the Burger King window and order a Whopper, and the guy would go, "This is McDonald's. We don't have the Whopper." And the guy would be like, "I'm sitting in front of a Burger King, order machine. What are you talking about?"
I love those. Oh my god. That reminds me of some days back in the student org that I will not name that I totally did not run and was definitely not at Kennesaw State, where we used to drive onto the Georgia Tech campus and do that crap to the restaurants around there, them to harass their students before CTFs. It was great. I mean, nope, definitely didn't happen.
One thing that in theory can be done that I have not myself personally done, because that would be wrong. In Vegas, a lot of hotels, even the big ones, they tend to shave money by going to Walmart and buying FRS radios for their housekeeping staff.
Yep.
And they can pay $20 for a pair of radios that they know are going to get stolen, lost, dropped in the toilet, or whatever, right? They're on, and they don't actually engage the quote unquote sort of kind of security, the kind of sort of encryption that they have.
The security was not an option for them.
They just keep
No
it simple.
squelch.
No squelch. Not
So
whatsoever.
the fun part is when you get your own little radio and you set it for an FRS frequency, which is strictly in theory and not actually something you should do, and call into the FRS frequency for the housekeepers and say you've got a dead body in a room and they need to send someone to clean it up.
That's the way. It's not a great way, but it is technically a way.
And you get to sit back and listen to them fight with each other over who's going to go to the room with the dead body in it.
I mean, you could do a variation on this that's a little, probably actually more extreme at DEF CON at least, where just a bunch of people decided to just, making the call, hey, somebody's shit in this room, and it's like 12 somebodies. Who's going to come in here and clean this up?
Actually, at the Alexis Park, there was one year at the Alexis Park, and this did happen, in the suite that hosted the 303 party. And everybody chipped in to pay the housekeeper. She got like a $300 tip because she went into the bathroom to clean it, and she ended up hucking all over the place.
Oh no!
Like she went into the bathroom and she came out and puked all over the room, and she just was just bazooka barfing everywhere from how bad the bathroom was.
I've heard of some people getting, I think it was Wendy's, they give you gift cards for your birthday or whatever, and these guys figured out the how to manipulate the barcode to where it was your birthday every day, and they didn't have to prove it. They just had the card, so they get free food free.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
Sir, this is a Wendy's. Make sure you don't go to the same Wendy's twice with that. I know someone who's made that mistake. It was very embarrassing.
Yeah.
You may be able to enjoy your burger while also receiving, theoretical car wash along the thing.
I mean, I guess you don't have to wash the car if someone steals the car. Speaking of, do you have any car bypasses, Sledge?
Leashy tools loved it. No.
Yeah.
About to say, have you seen the Kia boys and the Kia hacks?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Some of them are fucking intense. Like, my apartment complex has had an issue with that. To which I say, why'd y'all buy a Kia? And also, why are you risking jail time for a Kia?
I haven't seen a Kia specific one. What's all that about?
There's a few Kia specific ones where some factory runs did not come with alarms in their cars. I waited for you to drink before I said that one. I waited on it. Come on, snort it at your nose. You can do it, Sledge. But yeah, no, some Kias did not come from factory with the alarms, as in there's places for the alarms. There is everything set for the alarms, but no one put the actual hardware in.
Yep.
So there's no alarm.
Dude, you straight up installed your alarm from the Prince of Nigeria right there.
Got her off a Wish.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just a tin can that sits right there. So when you open the door, it goes.
That's actually better security than what these had, because they didn't even have the LED to pretend like there was an alarm, because the LED was part of the alarm. So it's just a clear dome that you can see there's no alarm in. So every criminal on the planet knows there's no alarm. Like, this is worse than maybe not an alarm.
Fantastic.
Oh, who's this Frank guy in the chat? Ugh, can someone ban him? Kidding, you,
look,
Frank. We love you.
It's Havok being a nerd.
Yeah, weird. Why is
You're
he
not
here?
here.
Not here?
You're not here to herd the cats. Stop it.
Yeah, okay,
He's
well,
not here to make me shut up.
Something else. Let's move on because let's talk about something else.
Let's talk about Dataplex brought up a good idea, which I think we can all chime in with. Let's talk about mentorship and how we as industry professionals go about it. Because in my case, I've done it since day one, and I think of it as like giving back to the community. And I don't know, it's just my personality. I like to give what I can, help people out where I can. So my track record is 50 people hired so far based on how I've been doing it. So let's talk about like different methods, how you do it, you know. So that's my side story. What you got, Dataplex?
Yeah, I've run into a few people this week that just I guess longer term relationships, known them a few years, right? And they're looking for opportunities and stuff, or looking to grow in their careers. Some of them are wildly off base with where they're going versus what they're doing. Some of them, it's interesting to see the different types of personalities in any industry, right? And trying to help that person grow to where they want to go, and then I guess realizing that I am old as hell and have a lot of experience, right? And so, as like you said, right, mentoring has always just been a part of who I am. I always want to see people, I want to be the last in the room because everybody else has, been more successful and stuff, right? So I don't know, just what are some tips and tricks? I recommended some reading to somebody this week and just some, different ways to approach a problem. And I'm wondering, what are some of the other things or other good tips you've heard from mentors in your life?
I like to ask some very pointed questions. Before I even waste my time on somebody, I'll basically interview them to see if it's worth it. One of the questions is, do you want money or a fun job? What is your basically passion? What are you passionate for? I gauge that passion before I even go down that trail, because raising somebody up is a lot of work. And that's kind of why I started my old podcast. But that didn't really take off. But
it's like
everybody else is picking up the banner on that one, like TCM and everybody. But that passion level is key. It's like, am I going, I usually say, hey, here's an email with a bunch of resources for you to go through. Here's some labs you can do. Google everything yourself. If you get stuck somewhere, I'm here to help answer your questions. But you need to learn how to Google and figure out problems. So if you don't do that first, I'm probably not going to make time for you.
Well, isn't that a little dated? I mean, everyone should know how to do that by now.
You'd think.
You'd be surprised.
No, I wouldn't. Remember, I'm the one who had to teach people what DNS was, so I'm not
Speaking
surprised.
of unteachable people in the chat, Frank,
It's not
no,
DNS.
we cannot teach you how to hack your ex-girlfriend's Facebook. Please take those questions elsewhere. The Google and YouTube terms of service will kick our asses. Thank you.
Well, if you introduce me to your ex-girlfriend, maybe I can social engineer the password out of her.
But the thing about it is if somebody's just in it for the money, like going back to what Sledge was saying, if somebody's just in it for the money, I mean, there's money to be made, sure, but if you really want to be good at what you do, there's a certain. So how do I put this? I am a very firm believer in information should be free, data absolutist. Sure, I'm here for that. However, it's my time that I'm spending to try and help someone to figure it out. I stand on the shoulders of many, many giants. A lot of people work very, very hard to get me to where I am.
You're like the messenger.
I can never repay that enough for them to them, but I can pay that forward. That's what it was about ultimately.
You know,
And so,
one of the things I like to do when people come to me, the first thing I tell them to do is go to hell. But
hold on.
My brother in Christ.
Oh.
So I have to regain my train of thought because you absolutely just railroaded me. Thanks.
Oh, I thought you were done. I'm sorry.
No, I pause sometimes. Just work with me. So lots of people work to get me where I am, and it's my job to pay that forward. If somebody is just in it for the money and they're not willing to if they're not willing to be excellent, I won't put my time into that. But I am willing to put my time into somebody who will be, because it is my job as somebody who has come up and is now doing the thing that I'm doing. It is my job to bring up the next generation too, because they brought me up.
I like to say, is it a passion, a lifestyle, or just a job?
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Did you actually say you told them to be excellent?
I mean,
No, I'm not bagging on you. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly, because I had that flash of Bill and Ted.
Oh yeah, excellent, dude. Yeah, I'm here for that. Sure, but like
Bill and Ted in the data center.
Yeah,
be excellent to each other, dudes.
Yeah, man. I'm
Which
here
is
for
really not a bad philosophy when you think about it. You'll never get into management, but it's a great philosophy.
Sure. And it's I love to help people learn that are have gotten to the point where they've started asking the right questions, and that's really how I gauge it.
Yes.
If they're asking stuff like, how can I hack my girlfriend's Facebook? That's not my jam. But if there are certain questions that you've gotten far enough to where this is actually something I can help you with, right?
How can I hack my
what's wrong with this payload?
and get away with it?
Slightly better question.
See, I learned a little bit.
Attribution is important. Or
This is when you tell your ex-girlfriend that the safe word is her password.
My favorite is, which VPN should I use? And I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you doing?
What was that, Delche?
All right. Yeah.
Delche?
Delche, you're up.
Oh, what I was saying earlier was one thing that I like to do with new people, and it's kind of like an acid test, like what you do. You ask them, "Hey, ASL, right?"
Yep.
But I like to tell them
those of you who are younger,
go out and buy TCP/IP Illustrated.
See Gooning and
and they're like, "What the hell am I going to do with that?" And I'm like, "Well, you're going to learn." And you get them like volume 2, the protocols, and you get them about like people think I'm weird, but like one guy last year for Christmas, I got him a complete set, all 3 volumes of TCP/IP Illustrated and a set of highlighters.
It holds a monitor at the direct right height if you use all 3 of them, actually.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm talking about people who are just starting out. Okay, once you got going, yeah, they make some great monitor stand, and it looks good if they're taking a picture of you, for Wired. It looks good to be sitting on your bookshelf. But
yeah,
when I first started out, I lived with those books.
Yep.
I learned that's how I learned what DNS packets look like. It's how I learned how protocols work, and a lot of people don't know that, and it's really beneficial to know it. And half the people will look at the book and say, "My God, no! I'll just go take a crash course. I'll go get a Mr. Gister or whatever the frig it is these days. I'll go watch a YouTube video."
Professor
It's like, okay, well, I'll see you at McDonald's.
Yeah. Listen, talk to me about RFCs back in the day and reading through those in the specs.
Yep.
So,
how many times have I brought up RFC 1918 and people look at me like, what the hell is that?
Yep. I got to audit a course in college because of that.
The Avian? No, that's not.
Hold on. Oh, no. In 1918 is private. Avian is 14-something.
2549. It's one of my favorites.
It's a revision, actually.
No, 1149.
Been updated.
1149 is the original RFC IP over Avian, which is one of my absolute favorites of all time.
There's no CRC, damn it.
So
IP over Avian was taking a thumb drive and sticking it on a pigeon and having the pigeon fly the data to the other point that it needed to be.
IPOAC is like killer, but how would you DDoS someone with IPOAC? Because I've wanted to do that my entire life.
That's a shotgun. Just pew. And hell, a pellet gun if they're low enough.
Some bird food.
Hold on.
If you know it's coming, just pew.
Just scatter enough
Instead
bird
of
food in
instead
one
of
area.
like Smurf drop, it would be pigeon drop. But
Right, and the idea is when the pigeons leave, everything's going to be covered in pigeon shit, which is the entire point of DDoSing someone with pigeon. Because not only can no one move, the roads are clogged. There's pigeon everywhere.
This
If you
is,
run them over, you make them.
Oh, that's whitewashing.
It's great.
That's the new definition of the word dead drop.
also seeding, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, like I don't know why, but it's just been in my head ever since I gave a talk on unique ways to carry a packet, which was all a bunch of puns. The whole talk was just puns. It was just a lightning talk of nothing but packet puns.
Since I use a VPN, I never catch packets.
Porter Tradecraft. If you, I can teach you to computer if you can Triforce.
Computer, I hardly know her.
A router, I hardly know her. That was my my
I
internet,
know.
my Wi-Fi name.
Talking about dead drops. I
Yeah,
used to
dead
tell
drops.
people that dead drops are like glory holes for computers.
Dead drops is
Right.
supposed to do alive drops. Alive drops are the problem, guys.
Oh yeah, we can't say dead on YouTube anymore, can we?
We could say unalived drops, I guess. I think that's the new Gen Z appropriate term, right?
I
Unalived
can tell you
drops.
to get zucked.
Rest in peace, monetization.
Hashtag go fuck yourself.
This isn't
Well,
monetization.
that's what we call the ROP chain, yeah.
Hey, Havok knew the second they let us loose without him being here. Now, there was no way YouTube was going to like this.
No, and that's fine. That's not the problem, or not my problem anyway.
I mean, it's not his tube anymore, it's our tube.
It's all right. It's fine.
All right, so I'm gonna reel back in because on the tech side, I'm good, right? Giving advice. Even if I don't know what I'm talking about, I can bullshit enough of it to go figure it out later, right?
You can
And
Google it
that's
yourself.
Yes. On the soft skills side, oftentimes I don't know what I don't know, and it's difficult being a mentor in space when maybe like you've got imposter syndrome for a gazillion years, right? So how do you?
So,
Yeah,
imposter syndrome, if that ever goes away, you're in the wrong room.
Yep,
facts.
that is absolutely true.
And then soft skills, some of the things I've learned over the years is you got to learn to say no. Because somebody can suck the life out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
you
find
gotta
that's
learn
the difference between like a senior engineer and like a I don't know, an engineer, right? Is that ability to say no to manage your work appropriately. And
Well, I mean, it's also I find it more to be being able to think outside the box, right? Because if I can sit anybody in front of a couple of playbooks that I've written, that I've done the analysis on and whatever, and you can follow it to the T. Anybody can do that. Anybody, hypothetically.
Yeah,
Anybody.
but you know
It's when
what?
you start really thinking outside the box and really understanding what you're doing and you've put your hands on and everything else. That's the difference. That and
That's only good if your playbook is good.
well, I mean,
My point, though,
I'm assuming that I wrote them. So
my point of saying no, though, is you can't help everybody. You can only lead a horse to water.
yes,
I've written
correct.
some shit playbooks in my time.
And that's fair.
Okay? I've written some playbooks that were just complete toilet paper.
Sure. And
Not because they were wrong or inaccurate, but they weren't written to the audience.
sure.
They weren't written in a way that a person could understand it.
Sure.
And
that's a big,
I had to go
that's a
back
big
and
challenge.
redo them, and you learn from that.
Sure. And I can tell you that I am significantly better than when we worked together, Deltrai. I have grown leaps and bounds since those days.
You started out as Dogbert, you know?
I mean, yeah, that's about right. But you also met me early in my security career too. Very early in my security career, come to think of it. You and I actually met before I got into security, but worked together early in my security career.
Clown shoes.
Good old clown shoes. Nice try at we're gonna call that the TRY force. Porter, I can't teach you to computer, my friend. Sorry.
Try harder, basically.
If you want to drop that up on the screen there, Sledge, that would be fantastic because it's funny. I'm sure that most folks, I don't know, we might get a few folks that get that joke.
It's genius.
Triforce, but yeah.
You know, every time I failed the OSCP, I've tried forced.
No.
It needs to bake a little more.
No, yeah, That could
it needs to bake a bit, but
that could be better.
All right. I'm gonna ask one more question on this whole topic, right? Which So, have you ever had the experience of talking in what I'll call the tech future, where everything coming out of your head and mouth sounds perfectly logical and reasonable to you, and it's only much later that you realize nobody could possibly understand what you were talking about, because you're ahead of the curve on this. How do you identify that? And that's something that I struggle with on a daily basis, is understanding when my audience is engaged because they're afraid of me because I'm in security, and when they're engaged because they understand, and when they're absolutely checked out, nodding their head because they don't want to get fired, right?
So I know my audience before I start talking to them, right? I lived in a hospital for a long time, and most of my audience was doctors who, if you tried to give them a computer, they would tell you good luck, because they don't do that. They do people, and that's good. That's good, right? So like understanding and being able to kind of, what's the word? Tune it back. Like I explain it, or when I'm faced with something I don't quite understand, I ask the person to explain it to me like I'm 12. Because a 12-year-old can understand basic concepts, and if you can explain it to me in such a way that I understand it at a 12-year-old level, I can work off of that, but also you understand it to a level that you can teach it, right? Because if you have to get really deep in the weeds to explain something conceptually, there's a problem, right?
It depends on what we're talking about. Are we talking about speaking to management, coworkers, or friends?
Ooh, friends is not. I guess I'm awkward in all situations. So this would be my experience is speaking to both. It's a mixed audience, and that's what, honestly, because it's a wider audience, makes that more difficult. Putting enough technical information to engage the engineers in the room, and enough, I'll say charisma and guidance at the high level to keep the leadership engaged. It's tough.
So this is how we as pen testers, well, as me as a pen tester, I don't know who else is on here. This is how we do our reports. You have one section for management, and then a high level overview of what you found, and then the technical stuff at the bottom, because you're assuming everyone up and down the chain is going to read that. And there's something each one can benefit from.
That is correct.
And then you kind of take that same approach, like say you're in a boardroom. Just don't be arrogant. Don't be pompous. Don't be that asshole. Just be like, this is what we found.
Unless you need to.
Like for us too, right? we summarize everything when we're doing an analysis. You give all of the intricate details, the analysis, the whatever you found, whatever you did, however you attacked it, whatever. And then at the very top, you give this big, basically an executive summary of everything from start to finish that an auditor or management or whoever would want to see this, so they don't have to go dig into the nitty gritty. They just understand what happened. That's exactly what you do.
Yep.
The executive summary is your friend.
Then you got objective, executive, technical, scenarios, findings.
Yeah.
Man, y'all technical writers just crack me up, man.
But yeah, I good questions all the way around.
Cool.
But I was going to say though too, like if we're talking about mentoring, let's say a friend or a coworker that either wants to get into the scene or is trying to learn more, I like to start the conversation just by asking what, in my mind, is basic questions, and just kind of see where they're at, and then build off from that. So like once I know the Legos that they're already playing with, I can give them some more to build upon that.
So if like Michael Reeves, I think, did it best, and he has a video out there. He's programming I can't remember what he's building in that specific one, but there's specific snippets of code. And so part of the video is he brings up the VS Code and he's going through it and he kind of just like shrugs it off saying nobody wants to listen to this boring shit. And then psych, and then goes down into where he's explaining what the code does. But if you give that first portion that, you know, hey, maybe we'll just skip over this because it's boring, and you're the person that you're dealing with doesn't quite take to that or say, hey, show me more, you can just kind of skip that part if it's not important.
It's like a teaser.
Yeah. Huh?
I'm gonna broaden it, right? Because I've got a few folks that they're technically excellent, right? This is not the right career path for them. So guiding them towards something, right? It's really, for me, it's helping them identify their passion and a path towards that goal, right? It's, I guess, where I was going with that, right? So sometimes if I'm talking to somebody who's technical, right, but they're not at the technical level I'm at, or maybe I'm not at their technical level, right? I've absolutely been broadsided by some amazing folks, you know, happens on the regular.
As long as you're humble, it's usually fine.
Yeah. I still have trouble identifying, like, when I, you know, I go far off into this just because it's experience based maybe, or that's not their area that they nerd out in, right? So pulling that back and again taking the mentorship aspect of this, right? How do you feed information into like that program, right? So I give reading, and I've been through like an intense, you know, leadership training program, for example, and it was like, here's 6 books a week, right? Toastmasters, like the whole, you know, that aspect of it. But the communication side from the technical stuff, and I'll say honestly right now, like I struggle with speaking to leadership who's been out of tech for 9 months, 2 years. Right? That's a tough crowd because they think that they've still got it and they're probably atrophied their skill set at that point. Right?
Well, in that situation, sometimes it's better to just explain the impact of what's could potentially happen. But again, it depends on what we're talking about. Like, explain the scope, impact of if you do this or if you do not do this.
Sledge, who just joined us?
Who's the new
I don't know.
That's
we don't know either. So, hey,
I bet you it's Havok.
Yeah, probably. Hey, Anon, what's up?
No.
Anonymute.
He's the only one with a link.
Not to say, if he doesn't open his mouth, someone needs
about to get got. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah, no. So I've interacted with several people that have directly asked me for help in their career this week, or I've gotten feedback that I've grown personally and professionally, right, with some of the ways I've handled situations. And really, I'm just reflecting on how to capitalize that and how to pay that forward in a way that I don't take somebody down where I'm all passionate and direct, you know, nerded out, and, you know, understanding that fine line where you're providing value for what they're seeking. I guess that's really for what it's about for me.
It comes down to just a conversation.
Yeah.
It's like start out with like, do you have kids? Do you have plans for the future? Where do you see yourself 5 years? Stuff like that, and then kind of go from there. And see where that rabbit hole goes.
What do you do in your spare time?
You applied for this job for InfoSec, and looking at your browser history, it's all anime porn.
Share your browser history. That's question number 1 from now on.
I'm going to have you talk to...
when your browser history says deep skeet instead of deep seek.
Oh, God.
We're going to let you look at this thing called 4chan.
Oh no,
Hiram
and they're on 4chan. Right? They've got this.
Oh man,
see you're on Red Note, and have a good day.
I understand you believe that Chrome's private browsing is actually private. Have a wonderful life.
Oh man,
that's fun. There is one thing you mentioned, Data, that we haven't really addressed. You were saying something about like, trying to rephrase, correct me, something about like saying something too smart or not knowing enough to somebody. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
There's a high level, low level thing. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I occasionally get accused of talking a year to 2 years in advance, right? And because I've got 25 plus years in this industry, right? That I am planning your 3-year plan today when you're, baby steps maybe,
Mhm.
or right, stuff like that. So for me, that comes easily, right? And it's where I have to catch myself, and I guess my days where I get tired are when I have to forcefully slow down that tech and slide a little bit more into charisma and, I guess business speak or collaboration, where my language is very deliberate instead of very technical, right? And I try and do things like warm the conversation, right? Giving compliments is an example. So, but in a lot of this area, so I guess why I'm bringing this up in tech, I think that it's difficult to find mentorship or to do mentorship in that area where you're maybe going from technical to business or back and forth, right? It's typically you find a mentor in one space or the other. And that's kind of where I see folks struggling, is like the really good technical people struggle with the soft skills, right? And the charismatic people are sales guys and they're trying to sell me shit and cold calling, so I meow at them.
That is definitely
much emphasis on soft
personality is a huge parameter here.
Yeah, if you don't have the right attitude, I can't teach you anything.
Personality is also the biggest problem. I mean, how many people have you ended up working with that have personalities that are just absolute dog shit?
I have
And yet
one
here
right
they
now.
are, in a position above you, or maybe below you, or maybe parallel to you. But one of my favorite stories. One of my favorite stories about this is a guy I used to work with. I was, Joe Ground Pounder Tech, and he was super duper high management vice president of jerking off or whatever.
Good times.
And
I want that title.
yeah, we had an AC outage. AC system just
Your browser
hit the
hit
bed.
Plot twist, he never came.
And I went in and I opened up the door to it was a mini server room about the size of a good sized closet. Opened the door, I went around and I stole fans off of people's desks. And I was blowing all the air I could out the door while, calling the AC repair guy. This dude rolls up to me and goes, you're wasting your time, right? I'm like, what do you mean? And he says, well, I said, look at the thermostat. It says it's 87. He's like, oh, okay, look. I went to MIT, so I know a little more about things than you do. You see, heat rises. So up towards the roof where the thermostat sensor is, it is 87. But it's not that warm down here amongst all the machines. So you need to put all this stuff away and, maybe take a class or something, and learn about the proper way to respond to this. And I just looked at this guy who was like, he had all the technical skill you could fit in a used condom. And he was telling me, not only in a really nasty way, but with authority. And he made me shut the door and put all the fans away. And of course, 20 minutes later, 2/3 of the machines thermaled and shut down. And you open the door and it was like walking into an oven.
I'm gonna go back to Sledge's comment about when to say no.
Yeah, well,
Before I lose my train of thought, let me address what we were just talking about in terms of like walking into a meeting and having those social skills. What I would tell somebody to do is, if you're like an introvert and you don't have very good social skills, go to a bar or hell, a church, anything. Just go introduce yourself to people. Get used to having handshakes, social interactions. And then the technical side, it's basically comes down to like, hey, instead of saying, yeah, we in-mapped all this, looked at all these services, just be like, hey, we scanned your network and found a couple broad level vulnerabilities or whatever.
Well, what I'll finish up the story now. My boss, the VP of engineering, came in and started dressing me down and literally yelling at me like, what the hell? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you fixing that? Now, I was stuck between two people. One person absolutely correct, but going way out of line, ape nuts, screaming and yelling at me. Another person who had the ability to fire me on the spot, being a condescending jackass, and me in the middle with the responsibility of keeping the system going. And if you want to talk about soft skills and social skills, there's nothing that's going to save your ass when you're in that situation. Nothing. And you will find yourself in that situation. You know damn well I ended up with that situation with clown shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing
You
is,
just got to put your knee pads on.
That's real experience
all-
there. Recognizing when you're going to put the shoes on and do the walk of fame.
But the thing is, when you get to that point where it's a lose-lose situation, you have to be able to remove yourself from the situation, calm yourself down, and say, there is no, the only winning move is not to play.
Mm-hmm.
And what I ended up doing was walking away from both of them. Went into my office, locked the door, and wrote an email to them both explaining what happened. And they came back, and I got the usual, pointless, meaningless apology. And they said, you were right, we're sorry, and that was the end of it. But you'll be lucky if you get that. There are a lot of scenarios where your soft skills are not going to save you from someone with authority who's going to say, you know what, I'm just tired of hearing this, you're fired.
I guess that's kind of where all my failures and stumbles have led me to, is that is the conversation that I navigate today, right? Is the leader, and I take it from the standpoint of generally, if we have that kind of a conversation going on, I need to understand like what is motivating their fear and their insecurity in the situation, right? Because we're likely talking about something that they're not comfortable with. And then it's my job essentially to not only deliver like a technical solution, right, in the security domain especially, but also a trust and, a counseling factor. Or, there's times where I'm going to yell right back in your face because it's the right thing to do, even if it costs me my job. I mentioned that before.
Mm-hmm.
That's not everybody, right? And that's and so that is actually something I struggle with. Like I will put that on. It's uncomfortable. It makes me tired, right? I'd rather be in code all day, but those are the real good like moments where I feel like I've won the game or the level, right? But I tend to want to drive people that I help and mentor towards that kind of a mentality, and it's not for everyone. So me understanding like where my path is like, I went down this rabbit hole, but you're wanting to go down there, right?
What I'd like to do is to remind myself of that situation so that when I find myself there in one of the other two roles, I remember what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've had people, just last week, I had people that completely misread an alert. And I had to sit down with them and go, let's take this thing from top to bottom. Forget everything you said, forget everything you've done. I'm going to walk you through this thing from one end to the other. And, instead of going in there and going, you dumb shit, what the hell, you couldn't find your ass with both hands in a hunting dog. I'm like, okay, it's obvious you don't know what this is and what this is. So let's go ahead and recover this. Let's go. Let's cover this from here to here. This is the header. This is the value. Take this value, plug it into Google, save that URL. You're going to need it. And look up that number. Now, here's the difference between what this is and what that is. And here's where you went wrong. And I'll get a lot of good reaction from that. I get a lot of good feedback. I've had people say that, this is great. I'm glad you did that. Now I understand. I really didn't know what I was doing. And the only reason I arrived there is because I survived being treated just the opposite. And, some people have a personal scale of morals and ethics, and mine boils down to something really simple. Would I want that done to me? And if
the
the
moral
answer is
dilemma
no,
that data gave us, or presented basically, is kind of like when you're doing what you think is the right thing that could potentially cause you to lose your job. How do you weigh that? Is it worth it?
there's a lot of factors involved there.
Mm-hmm.
If you're 20 and you can get another job in 10 minutes, fuck it.
Well, you don't have that. You don't have the clout or the backing that you do at 20. You don't have that experience that somebody's going to listen to you for.
Right, but you also don't have to take the abuse. You can say, I can get someone to pay me more to abuse me less.
This is fair.
Let's say it's not abuse. Let's say it's just a disagreement with management, and they're trying to, like, let's have an example of, let's take this off of our report. And you're like, no, they should be in that report. And you get in a heated conversation about that.
I have a great example, right? Something that I went through a couple years ago, as everybody went to cloud, was bringing the FinOps conversation into security, right? And basically, back then it was, that's not a security topic, okay? It is a security topic, right? And it got to the point essentially where, basically shut up, or if you say FinOps again, I'm hanging up this phone, right? And maybe this isn't working out. And I had to back up and say, what? I had to ask the question, even though I'm in a contentious situation, like, help me learn what I'm missing here so that I can grow to the point where we can have a legitimate conversation, like right now, because obviously this isn't going well, right? And I was able to bring that around. Why am I caring about FinOps? Well, because that's one of your best metrics for monitoring, right? But it's not a thing on-prem, right? You CapEx everything, so you're depreciating, and it's not a piece of that. So that was a successful navigation, right? An unsuccessful one is I've bitten off projects that are too large for the team, but not for my mindset, right? And that one is tough to realize, like, oh, like in my head, this is fairly simple, right? And in other people's heads, this is absolute rocket science, right? I don't know if that was a bit of a ramble there, but in security especially, I prefer to have that contentious, right, conversation, and it's not necessarily contentious, but it's just that I'm going to be respected in this conversation, right? And if we don't have that mutual respect, we're going to reset, we're going to step back, and we're going to establish that again.
It's like the whole idea between a bunch of different teams is people to contend with to make things better. And if you can't do that respectfully, then you're just going to fall apart.
So Randy Pausch, the late great Randy Pausch, said it best when he said that some brick walls are made of flesh, right? He talked about brick walls show us how badly you want something. In that, if you find yourself hitting a brick wall, it shows you that either you want it bad enough to break through that brick wall or you don't. Some brick walls are made of flesh.
And it's calculated risk. Are you going to break through or not? Do you hit it hard enough or bounce off of it?
Mm-hmm. Do you want it badly enough? And sometimes it's he tells a story about he wants to go work for Disney. If you haven't seen the last lecture, go watch it. It's the best hour and 45 minutes of your year, I promise, hands down.
I'll vouch for that.
He talks about a
paste the link if you can.
Well, he died.
Alt F4 was his link of choice.
It wasn't me.
Scene 1, static interruption. Scene 2, anonymous announcement. This is a special announcement from Anonymous. Do not be alarmed. We control all that you see and hear. We control the horizontal and the vertical. We can flood your mind with 1,000 images at once or expand one to crystal clarity. You ignored our member's request to hack his girlfriend's Facebook account. How dare you shameless hackers refuse to share information with newbies? Let this serve as a warning to you to be kinder to those seeking knowledge.
Damn it, Frank, give us the straight.
You fuck.
That was good. That was good.
Well done. Well done. That was fantastic. That was great. Well done, Trez. Well done.
All right, Sludge, now go ban him so he doesn't do it again.
I don't know if I can ban another admin.
I think you can, actually. I just Googled it.
Let's see. To answer this question, I'm dropping this link, and I don't have access to the comment section, so somebody's going to have to post it there. But I'm putting it in the private chat here. It's called The Last Lecture. It's from Randy Pausch. It's talking about achieving your childhood dreams. And so he talks about part of his thing is he has the chance to go work with Disney Imagineering on virtual reality, and he hits a brick wall. And it's the dean of the college that he's working at. He's working at Carnegie Mellon at the time, and the dean basically tells him that he can't go because they might, steal all of his IP, his intellectual property, and all of this and all that. And he's like, "No, you can't do this." And he starts talking about how some brick walls are made of flesh, and that was a brick wall that he had to circumvent. Ultimately, what happens is there's another person that is more in charge of situations like that, Andy Van Dam. And he goes and speaks to Andy about it. He gets I believe it was Dean Wormer he was talking about. That's the name he gave. Was very adamant against him not doing this, but he goes to talk to Andy Van Dam at the behest or at his request that if he gets Andy Van Dam to agree to this sabbatical, would Dean Wormer be fine with it? And he says, "Yeah, I guess that would work." So ultimately, what happens is he goes to talk to Andy Van Dam, and it's the way that both people attack the problem. And Dean Wormer is adamantly not doing this. They could take our intellectual property. Where Andy Van Dam's like, my star player's here telling me something, and he's excited about something. Tell me more. So they're asking the same thing. Ultimately, is what's happening. But Randy tells it a lot better than I do. Point is, some brick walls are made of flesh. You're going to run into people that are going to stop you or try to stop you from accomplishing whatever it is that you're trying to do. And sometimes that's just a quick change control, and sometimes that's a year-long sabbatical with Disney. There's a way around it. You just have to figure out how.
I want
God give his patience and give it to me right now.
But yeah, rest in peace, old Randy Pausch.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Well, we're an hour 30. You guys want to call it?
I'm going to put a nice little bow, right? A lot of change right now in the industry and all this AI, the stock market's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes change is your best friend, but finding a good guide through that change is sometimes makes all the difference, and that's what I've been finding this week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There.
All right, y'all, let's call it.
Post the link.
Dude,
Post the link.
There's no way to...
Post the link.
I'm trying. I've been trying for a few minutes now.
Post the link.
Somebody put it in the chat.
Just Google Randy Pausch.
Yeah, it's called The Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. It's an hour and 60 minutes long.
There we go. Now it's in the right chat. I can show it. There we go.
Thank you.
Also,
thanks for the coins, fam. Thanks for the coins, chat.
Yeah. Also,
chat, I'm so
sad face. That Frank did not make his SteamYard account with, a commonly used email. Fucking hell, I'm going to steal this thing. I mean, nothing.
He's like, I'm too busy to cast tonight, but yeah, I'm gonna
literally
spin up an AI video and fuck with you.
That was so funny.
That was brilliant. Thank you.
That was good. That's why he didn't join us tonight, just so he could get away with that. It's like
slow clap. Well played.
Just the lead up to that, honestly.
Round of applause.
Yeah.
Anyway, this has been fun.
I've been mentored by Frank. Yep. Not mentored. Damn it.
Frank, you're not Anon. We know your name is Frank. Just stop that.
Aren't you a man?
Was he also posing as all safe cybersecurity?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all he had to do was mention liposuction. We all knew it was him.
Yeah, I did too.
What you don't realize is he's everybody else in the chat. It's just him on different accounts.
Yeah.
Driving up views.
I mean, okay, Spiffing Brit has how many episodes on how to hack the YouTube algorithm?
I mean, who am I to judge?
Info's out there.
Yeah. Hack the planet.
Hack the planet.
But yes, I say we give her a call. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, that was the
Let's
best
call it.
philosophical ending I had. I'm done. There's nothing else, out of here today.
Cool.
All I got
All
is
right,
bad
guys.
puns.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Outro sequence.
Yeah.
Outro.
Outro sequence.
Word.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.